Did you know that tulips actually came from Turkey, not the Netherlands? Tulips are native to Central Asia and were first cultivated by the Ottomans in the 1500s. Soon after they were cultivated, they became symbols of beauty and elegance within the Ottoman Empire. Became so famous that there was an era called the Tulip era, or Lale Devre, which happened in the early 18th century under Sultan Ahmed III. This was a time of peace, art, and celebration. The wealthy elite made nighttime trips to display their tulips and light them up in gardens to display them in the evening. Tulips are also displayed in Ottoman motifs and ceramics, so you can see throughout the Ottoman architecture. You'll find them in calligraphy and even in the old palaces. So how did tulips end up in Europe? Well, in the 16th century, Turkish diplomats and botanists ended up sending some tulips to Europe, especially the Netherlands, where they became fascinated by this flower. The Dutch kind of had a tulip mania and they became so obsessed with this flower. But back in Turkey, it was kind of like a normal thing and they weren't that obsessed with it. So this is why the Netherlands became known as kind of like a tulip capital, and Istanbul was kind of more like low-key about it. In the early 2000s, Istanbul decided that we kind of wanted in on the tulip mania, so they created a tulip festival. In 2016, they launched the first Istanbul Tulip Festival. Now over 30 million tulips are planted every year with 120 different varieties. And here's a little fun fact: the word tulip actually is said to have come from the Turkish word tübülent, which means turban, because the Europeans thought that the tulips kind of looked like a turban. So yeah, before the Dutch claimed them, tulips were already thriving in Istanbul in Turkey, and the festival is just Istanbul's way of taking back that legacy. So what exactly is the Tulip Festival? Well, unlike most festivals, there's not going to be like one place where you can see all the tulips. Instead, it's like an explosion of spring, and they're planted all over the parks, streets, and roundabouts. It usually happens throughout the month of April, and the best part is it's totally free. Each year, the Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality plants 30 million tulips in more than 120 different varieties, turning the whole city into like a living art installation. You'll see tulips planted in geometric patterns, Ottoman-inspired designs, and displays that basically make flower mosaics. But even though it's organized by the city, it doesn't feel like a single event in one place, but it's spread out across the whole city, so you'll see them even when you aren't expecting to. The Tulip Festival is very popular with families, photographers, tourists, and honestly just anyone who really loves tulips. You can honestly find tulips here in like literally any color. These are also really cool. They're like a bright red-orange, kind of like an ombre with like yellow edges. So where can you actually see the tulips? Even though the flowers are planted all over the city, there are a few parks where you can actually see the most tulips. And we're going to start with the biggest one, and it's called Emerson Park. This park is located on the European side of Istanbul, right along the Bosphorus, giving you amazing views of the city. Since it is the biggest park, it also is the busiest, but it does have some nice walking paths and a pond with lots of great places for photography. This park is going to be very busy on the weekend, and you're going to want to go early in the morning to get the best photos and kind of avoid the people. The next locations are going to be Gulhane Park and Sultan Ahmet Square. These are also on the European side in the old city, but they also have a nice tulip park there. You can see all the tulips and also visit the Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque. This next one is called Yildiz Park, and it's also on the European side in Beşiktaş. It's kind of more low-key and really quiet, so it's also a good place to go if you want less people and really good photographs. These next three are going to be on the Asian side. The first one is going to be Beykoz and Jamuja Hill, which is opposite Emerson Park on the European side. The Asian side gives you really good views of the Bosphorus just from the opposite side, and it's also very low-key. The last location is Göztepe Park, which is where I'm at now. This is in the Kadıköy district and very close to the Bosphorus seaside, where you can walk along the promenade all the way to Kadıköy. I think this is a star shape. This is like half of the star, and then the other half is on this side. But they planted it kind of like a star design, which is with the white center and then pink tips. Now that you know where to go, let me tell you some tips so you can get the best photos during your visit. Tip number 1 is to go early in the morning. I am here in Ghost Bay Park at 11, but I arrived here at 10:30, and as you can see, there aren't that many people. The flowers are also not in full bloom yet, but you can kind of still see them. If you go early in the morning, you'll avoid the crowds and you'll be able to get nice photos without a bunch of people in the background. The second tip is to have a macro lens or use the macro setting on your camera to get those really up close shots of the tulip petals or water droplets in the morning. Those will make really good portrait photos. The third tip is to notice the different designs in the parks when you're walking around. A lot of the times the tulips are not planted just randomly, but they make different designs, like there's like butterflies or different like mosaics. Sometimes it looks like water. The last tip is to wear something neutral. If you're going to be taking pictures with a lot of colorful flowers, you're going to want to wear something that doesn't clash, so neutral colors are usually the best. The last tip is to remember that lots of people are also taking photos, and there's usually a lot of wedding photography that happens during the Tulip Festival, so just be mindful that you're not the only one taking pictures. Okay, I think I found some ombre looking flowers, but most of them haven't bloomed yet, but once they bloom, I think they're going to be really, really cool looking. This is what they look like now. Okay, the last thing is to know when to get the best photos and when to capture them in full bloom. Usually the flowers bloom kind of middle of April, middle to end of April, sometimes into May. Most of the tulips will be in full bloom by that point. Right now it's the beginning of April and some of them are still starting to bloom, but most of them still haven't bloomed yet. But I think in the next couple of weeks they'll really start to bloom the most. Now you're probably wondering, how can you go to all of these parks? Well, I'm going to give you a very basic description of how to get there. So let's start off with Emerson Park. It's located on the European side, and the easiest way to get there is a bus from Beşiktaş. The next parks are going to be in Gülhane Park and Sultanahmet Square. These are pretty easy to get to since they're right in front of the Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque, so you can take the T1 tram there. To get to Yıldız Park, you can also take a bus from Beşiktaş, or you can just walk. It's probably about a 10 to 20 minute walk from the Beşiktaş ferry area. The other locations on the Asian side, you're going to need to obviously get to the Asian side first, which you can do from ferry or the Marmaray or Metro bus. To get to Beykoz and Çamlıca, you're going to take a bus from Üsküdar, ferry station. And then to get to Ghost Bay Park, you're going to take a bus from Kadıköy. I think I made a mistake. Now she's going to follow me. Before I go enjoy the tulips myself, I just wanted to let you know about some special tips or secrets about the Tulip Festival in Istanbul. Like I mentioned before, there are 120 different varieties of tulips, and they're not all the same. There are actually a couple of tulips that are bred just for the festival, and one to look out for is kind of this dark purple, almost black tulip. This is specifically bred for Istanbul, for Turkey. There's also some tulips that are kind of like an ombre color, which are really cool. There are also some tulips that are kind of shaped like a star that have kind of like a pointier petal. And there's ones with kind of like a fringe on their petal. It kind of looks like frayed jeans, on the bottom of your jeans. It's kind of what it looks like. But those are all specially bred for the Istanbul Tulip Festival. While you're not allowed to take any of the tulips from any of the parks, you can find some tulip souvenirs in the surrounding shops. You also won't be able to find any tulip bulbs for sale. You can buy some tulips from floral shops, but don't take them from the parks. And that's going to be about it for the Tulip Festival. I hope you enjoyed all this information and seeing all the tulips with me. It's definitely one of the underrated reasons to visit Istanbul in the spring. And if you're visiting during April or May, you're definitely going to want to add this to your list. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you enjoyed seeing the beginning of the Tulip Festival in Istanbul. I'll see you guys in the next one.